What if Tensura, the jewel of Tempest Rimuru, was taking a break after the entire orc invasion incident and decided to take a stroll through the forest? While walking along, he runs into a monster that was run out of their home by the orcs and lost their entire family to the attack. With nowhere to call home and no family to go back to, Rimuru accepts the monster into the new and-growing town as his adopted daughter. The story will follow the main story beats of the light novel, but events will be changed due to a close bond forming between Rimuru and the new monster. The bond will be explored along with the world around the two of them, giving more depth to the characters and allowing them to move outside of the main story's narrative. Prologue. Shadow Panther's third-person paw of the world was dark. Here in a separated dimension was a place that no natural light would ever reach. The only light that could be seen was small pinpricks of yellow in the distance, each one moving in sets of 2. The glowing yellow lights were the eyes of the race that lived in the dimension, a race so rare that it was said they are only seen once a century. To see one, and survive, would be considered the loftiest of achievements for any of the short-lived races that inhabited the cardinal world. With the sightings of shadow panthers being so few and far between, little was known about them. The only thing that was recorded was the fact that all sightings have been on the night of a full moon, the monsters disappearing quickly after the night ends. It is here in the dimension of darkness that these monsters, relegated to myths and legends, live, completely unbothered by the lack of light. There was currently a sizable gathering happening, a meeting between the leader of the race and an elder who stores all the knowledge that had been learned. "Leader, it is time. The prophecy is coming true as it was told to us." The elder spoke up with a voice that was both old and powerful. The leader, having taken a seat close by, glared at the elder who spoke. "I will not toss one of our own into a world that we fled from over a millennium ago. Prophecy or no, what are we but murderers if we let someone die while having the power to stop it?" The elder, seeming to expect this resistance, just let out a resigned sigh. "You know as well as I do. In return for this dimension, where we can safely live without a worry of being hunted to extinction, we were given a prophecy that we must follow. It is our payment for the safety we have had all these years." The leader knew this to be true. All that lived here knew the prophecy that was passed down from one generation to the next. All knew that one day it would come true and they would be forced to go through with it as payment for this paradise. "In the future, one will be born to your people. While they will be of your race, they will not look like all those that came before them. When they are born, you will lead them out into the cardinal world once more. They will be swept away into the world, a world that will rapidly change around them. When the threats are gone, when the world has settled, your people will be free to walk in the light once more without fear." So said the one thing that has guided them for all these years. It had been both an object of fear and one of hope. Those who lived in the paradise knew that they would always be safe so long as they didn't venture out, but many also longed for the times when they could roam freely around the world. "Fine, the person who made this place for us is more than powerful enough to destroy it if we don't follow through on our end of the deal. I will not be leaving the little one alone, though." The leader spoke up after a long pause. There were several growls of dissatisfaction from those who were attending the meeting, some nodded in approval, others still who were split and couldn't take one side or the other. During this separation of thoughts, the elder spoke up once more, silencing everyone present. "Enough, it's been decided. You will be allowed to take a force out with the little one to protect her, but should something happen, you are to leave things in the hands of fate itself." The words were said, both carrying the weight of leadership and the sadness of someone who has seen too much loss. "I understand. We will take a group of 20 with us for the protection of our own." With the words leaving the leader's mouth, things started to happen quickly. The next full moon would appear that very night, and with it, a doorway would open into the cardinal world. None would be able to see the gateway from the other side, but it would allow those who lived in a world of peace to pass through into a world of hardship. With the group quickly gathered, the leader stood in front of them. "Our task is to protect the cub in our care. That said, if something unexpected happens, you are to retreat back here. I will not tolerate a single death, is that understood?" "Yes, ma'am," all answered together. With everything ready, the last thing to do was for the cub to be brought forward. A young kitten was carried to the front, strikingly different from all those around her. While all other shadow panthers had yellow eyes and solid black fur reminiscent of their species, the youngling who was brought forward had differences that even an untrained eye could see. With piercing heterochromatic eyes of black and purple, white tufts in each ear, and dark purple hair on the tip of her tail. She was about as different as one could get. The only thing that stayed the same was most of her fur was solid black in color outside of the aforementioned areas. While looking so different, one could easily mistake the youngling for a different species completely. Those without analytical skills would certainly struggle to know what she was unless they were of the extremely long-lived types who have seen nearly everything already. Suez Pav. Meanwhile, the orcs are being too persistent. They have wiped out every monster in their path regardless of how strong they were. The element of surprise was no doubt on their side as no one expected the orcs to invade the forest. I had been tracking the offshoot of orcs that attacked our village for some time now, wondering if it would be possible to kill all of them myself. Sir Rimuru would get mad at me if I were to do something so reckless. It's better if I just collect information for now. With the offshoot group of orcs checked on, I figured it was a good idea to see if there were any races between them and their direction of travel. Disappearing into the shadows, I started to scout ahead, only to stop in shock a few moments later. While looking ahead, I found a group of shadow panthers, said to be one of the rarest monsters to ever be seen. The momentary pause was enough for the lead orcs of the group to spot them and start advancing rapidly. Seeing no other option, I decided to report what I found and ask for directions. Sir Rimuru, I have found a group of shadow panthers that are about to be attacked by the orcs. Shooting off a thought communication, I started to get ready for a fight. The response came shortly after. Can you save them without putting yourself at risk? It is possible, yes. My confidence was certainly shown by those few words. Don't take unnecessary risks. Save as many as you can, but don't get yourself killed in the process. Rimuru said, no doubt weighing the odds of 1 against thousands. Understood. With the single word confirmation, I went to work. The orcs had already surrounded the group, with more moving towards the location. I berated myself as I began to move. If not for the short pause when I first noticed them, they could have run before being cut off. Staying to the shadows, I made quick work of the orcs around me, each one being diced to pieces while I worked my way inward. The longer I watched, the stranger the situation seemed. According to legends, the shadow panthers could use shadow motion just as I can, so why aren't they? It was like they were trying to defend something, or someone, and did not see retreating as an option. With each one that was struck down, they disappeared into a cloud of black mist, leaving nobody behind for the orcs to consume. It was like nothing I had expected. It was almost like each one here was just a clone that dispersed once defeated. As Pav stepping through the portal made by the light of the full moon, I felt a shiver run down my small body. We had come out into a dense forest, and the very air was alive with magicules. The feeling was different from anything I had felt before. The magicules in our home were completely different, resonating nothingness. The magicules here seemed to radiate life and energy itself. With the night slowly ending as we examined our surroundings, I was picked up and placed on the back of an adult. Why am I the only cub here? Everyone else is an adult. I thought to myself, while confused, it wasn't something I was going to dwell too much on. We are moving out. We need to find a place to stay while in this world. Came a command from the leader. With everyone falling into position, me and the person I was riding being in the middle, the entire group started to move. At the first hints of the sunrise, I couldn't help but admire it. There was light here, unlike our home where it was always pitch black and we had to rely on our other senses to navigate. This place was different. Generally, everyone learned magic sense at some point, but I was still too young to manage it. As such, being able to see clearly for the first time in my life was a novel experience I wouldn't soon forget. As the sun rose, we found a small clearing that could be used to rest. The light was new for all of us, and it would take time to get adjusted to it. In the meantime, it was decided that everyone would stay put for the first day that we were in this world to help us get accustomed to the new world. It soon became evident why this world was off limits to all our kind. Why I was always told that the world was full of those who would kill us if they got the chance. The moment we started to settle down, we were attacked. I wasn't sure where to look or what to do as orcs streamed out from the trees on all sides of us. We were quickly surrounded, and I was herded towards the center once more as the adults prepared to fight. Confused and scared at the sudden appearance of another race, I could only stand there frozen and unable to move. Take her and run. Get her out of the encirclement and protect her. Those words, said by a person I couldn't see, was the last thing I heard. Before I could even fully register what was going on, I felt someone picking me up by the scruff of the neck and pulling me into the shadow world along with them. Due to being so young, and being pulled into the shadow realm unexpectedly, I was unable to hold my breath for long as there was no air where we were. Moments later, the sun appeared again, right as I was about to run out of air. We had managed to escape the encirclement, but our departure didn't go unnoticed. Several orcs towards the back turned towards us and started to attack. The only thing standing between myself and them was one of my kin. "Run, little one. I will hold them off as long as I can. You must escape." Desperation and worry laced the words as they were spoken. Seeing the orcs approaching, I made no attempt to argue. There was a reason I was brought here and protected. I didn't have the skills needed to escape danger and death like the others did, so I only had one option, which was to run. After watching as my people were killed one by one, and the person who helped me to escape being struck down, I ran with fear-driven adrenaline flowing through my body. What did we ever do to deserve this? Is it punishment for something our people did in the past? I couldn't see something like this as just bad luck, not when we were attacked within hours of coming to this world. My escape was short-lived. Running away from the fighting and hoping that nothing would come after me was a fool's hope, especially when I was so young. With no way to defend myself and being too small to run quickly, I soon found myself surrounded once more. With nowhere left to run and the orcs offering no words before attacking, I fell into despair. Only a single orc stepped forward to attack, leaving me just enough room to dodge the first strike that was made. I don't want to die here. Dodging out of the way of a second downward strike, I felt searing pain in one of my back legs. I knew that I didn't dodge in time, barely managing to stay alive even while the injury slowed me down considerably. "Someone, please, help me," I called out into the air, knowing that no one would come. Seeing a bright light suddenly manifest in front of me, I froze. The orc that was attacking disappeared into thin air as it was caught in a magic circle that appeared out of nowhere. In the orc's place stood a fully grown panther. I wasn't sure what type they were, but their strength was evident. I had lost my fear once I saw them, with radiant snow-white fur and accents of light blue on the tip of their tail. I watched as they slowly turned towards me, heterochromatic eyes of light gray and light blue looking straight into my own. "I will clear a path for you to escape. Live, little one, for both our sakes." With those few cryptic words, things were set into motion once more. Before I could speak, a wave of light sliced out, passing well over my head, and hitting the orcs. Where there were once 50 orcs ready to kill me, they all collapsed to the ground, neatly cut in half. "Thank you for saving me," I said, while taking a step closer. With a shake of their head, they spoke again. "I cannot stay here. I used too much energy forcibly coming to save you. Go, survive." With their task done, they started to slowly disappear into the air. I watched for a moment until their form had completely vanished, before taking off once more. Looking back just once, I saw that the orcs were moving away from my location, my skill, soul sight, finally coming in handy. Before there were too many to keep track of and avoid, but now that the area around myself has been cleared, I could use it to avoid further trouble. While running away, I noticed someone hiding in the shadows moving towards the location where I was so recently sure of my own death. Not wanting to get into another dangerous situation, I did my best to hide from the person as they came straight towards my location. I was worried that it was another hostile person and didn't want to take the chance of being attacked once more, not when everyone went through so much trouble to save me in the first place. Suez Pav, while fighting my way into the orcs in an attempt to save the Shadow Panthers, I noticed that they were protecting something. It was clear that it was either protect it or die trying, which only confused me further as they should have been able to easily escape. I caught a brief glimpse of what they were protecting when it was picked up. It was a cub, and the only explanation I could come up with was that it was too young to have mastered the usual skills their race had. My thoughts were confirmed when I saw the adult who grabbed it disappear into the shadow world. Thinking that the two of them would be able to escape easily, I focused on trying to save the others. Towards the end of the fight, the orcs overwhelmed the Shadow Panthers easily and the last few were struck down before I could save them. It was at this point I felt a massive burst of magicules from outside the main area the fight was taking place in. Did they not escape? Don't tell me that is the case. With the last of the panthers near my location having been struck down, I moved off to assist the ones that tried to escape earlier. I couldn't help but feel guilty for not being able to save the pack, unable to use my full strength while staying hidden and not being able to fight directly. I was still getting used to the new skills gifted to me, and it cost a lot of lives today. Reaching the area where the magicule burst happened, I quickly noticed 50 orcs lying dead on the ground. Each one was cut cleanly in half, and judging from the circle they were still in when the bodies fell, they were all killed at once without warning. Searching the area for any survivors, and finding none, I felt the disappointment grow. I hope the cubs survived at least. I better report this. Sir Rimuru, the Shadow Panthers were wiped out. I believe there might be some survivors, but I have not been able to locate them. I am sorry that I have failed your expectations. I spoke through the thought communication, waiting for a reprimand at my failure. So long as you have stayed safe, that is all I can ask for. You did your best to save them and there wasn't much else to be done about it. If you can't find the survivors, then continue your surveillance. Rimuru responded, no trace of being angry or disappointed in his words. Yes, sir. I'll keep an eye out for survivors as I continue my mission. With the report done, I moved off towards the orcs once more, failing to notice a small being sticking its head out of a bush. Third person Pav, I'm sorry, Elder, we have failed. The leader spoke up once he realized everyone chosen for the group had reappeared back home. The Elder, in response, gave a shake of his head. You did not fail, she is still alive. I never told you the full prophecy, did I? The leader and others looked confused. No matter how many went, you would not have been able to protect her until the end. It was foretold that this journey would be hers and hers alone. You managed to get her to safety when you were attacked. That is all I could have asked of any of you. The Elder continued to speak, explaining more of the prophecy. The leader, unable to hold back, asked the question on everyone's mind. Why? Why her of all of us? The Elder slowly laid down as if a great weight was resting on his shoulders. Now that she is gone, and there is nothing we can do to help her, I will tell you. She is one of us, yes, but she is also a reincarnation. Back before we came here, she was a powerful figure in the world. I don't know much about who she was, only that it said when she is reborn the world will change. What does that have to do with us, though? Someone spoke up from behind the leader. It was foretold she would be reincarnated among us. To make sure nothing happened to our race before this time could come around, we were given this paradise in which to live. We were then tasked with raising her and guiding her into the world when she was reborn. That is all the information that I know. The Elder said this, exhaustion heavy in his words. We apologize for going against you before. We did not know the full story and acted rashly. I pray that she will find her way safely into that world and change it for the better. May we see her again in the future when the world is ready to accept us back once more. The leader said, speaking for everyone else present. Chapter 1 Was it Destiny? Rimuru's Pav. I finally finished naming all the goblins that showed up in our town while I was away dealing with the Orc Lord, and it's about time that I had a chance to relax. I was walking through the forest near the town enjoying the silence the forest offered when I suddenly heard the voice of Great Sage. Notice, there is a monster hiding nearby. In a bush 10 feet ahead. I was curious about what kind of monster this would be. And if it was hiding in a bush, then it couldn't be that dangerous, right? Stopping just short of the bush that was indicated, I looked around a little trying to find the monster, and nearly jumped back when I saw a pair of heterochromatic black and purple eyes staring back at me. The monster was obviously quite young, though I couldn't see too many details while it was hiding. I took a seat nearby, but still a healthy distance away so that it wouldn't be afraid. Don't worry, I won't hurt you, I said softly. After a brief pause, I see a head poke out of the bush and I was finally able to tell what kind of monster this was, and she was a cat, not much bigger than a house cat. I was a little surprised when she started speaking to me, through telepathy to be sure, but that is just par for the course in this world after all. With her speech broken and slow, it was clear that she wasn't used to speaking to others outside her own kind, although she could at least understand my own spoken words. Who are you? I am Rimuru Tempest. I'm guessing you don't have a name? A quick shake of her head was all the answer I needed for that question, but I wasn't about to just hand over a name without knowing more about the situation. This might have been because I had just finished naming so many people, but I was reluctant to start naming all over again. Where did you come from? My people. Attacked. By orcs. I alone live. There was still a lingering sound of fear in her words as she spoke. While she spoke, she walked a couple more steps into the open where I could see a noticeable limp, and several injuries across her body. Taking a potion out of my stomach that was contained within a miniature slime-like container, I tossed it towards her. I watched as she raised up on her back feet and batted at it with a paw, causing the slime container to burst and the potion to splash across her body. Every injury instantly healed and left her without a single scar to show how many wounds there used to be. She was clearly surprised as she spun in a circle, looking over where the wounds had been a second ago and assessing her legs to make sure the pain was gone. While she spun around, I got a better look without the injuries marring her fur, and she was like nothing I had seen before. With her striking eyes that seemed to know more than one her age should, the white tufts in her ears that gave a sharp contrast to the otherwise black fur, and finally the purple fur on the tip of her tail that matched her purple eye as it blended seamlessly down into the black, it gave an otherworldly look. "You should be fully healed now. I didn't want you to be in pain while we talked to one another," I said while leaning back onto one of my hands to feel more comfortable. "Thank you. You have good soul. Analysis complete. Individual has unique skill, soul sight, allowing them to see people's souls." I was happy she was able to figure it out, but also curious. I was given permission to analyze, which led to this result. Master, geez, talk about something special. I kind of wanted to know what all it could do now. If the name was anything to go by, then this little one could see my soul and, judging by her comment, she could see what type of person I was based off of it. I wanted to see if I could learn more about her, but I have already decided to take her in once we were done talking. "Can you tell me more about your people and what happened to them? The orcs are no longer a threat to the forest, so you won't have to worry about them." "Orcs attacked. Killed everyone," parents said. "Run." "I am only one alive," she said while shrinking back, trying to make herself seem smaller. After seeing her and the explanation she gave, I was certain that she was the lone survivor of the group Sue located before the main battle with the orcs. According to his report, a group of shadow panthers were ambushed in the early morning and quickly killed. While he knew there were survivors based on how many orcs were killed in a single spot away from the main area, he didn't know how many. Sue, of course, tried to track anyone who escaped to offer them safety, but found no one. I was starting to think that this kitten in front of me was the lone survivor and managed to evade Sue by using her skill. It would certainly make sense, as she would have been able to see his soul and use that to evade him. It felt wrong to leave her out in the forest alone when it was clear she was struggling to survive and still suffered from the after effects of losing her pack. Sue said that all shadow panthers were all black in color with yellow eyes, so I did have to wonder what made this kitten so special to deviate from that pattern so drastically, assuming she was the survivor. I was also wondering how the orcs were killed if she is the only one to survive, as it doesn't seem like she could take out a single orc, much less a multitude. "Well, if you are looking for somewhere safe to stay, why not join me? I'm sure you have seen the town we are making nearby, and you are more than welcome to join us." The offer certainly sparked something in her as she sat down thinking about it for a moment. I knew there would probably be questions about the town and why I am offering a place to live so freely, but I was more than happy to answer anything that came up. The forest was filled with dangerous monsters and the security patrols might very well mistake her for a threat as well, and that was the last thing I wanted. "How can I repay you?" Her words filled with hope, but tempered by concern. "There is no need for repayment. You have lost everything and have suffered more than anyone should already, so I offer this without any strings attached." With a warm smile, I tried to reassure her as I reached out a hand slowly in welcome. She walked right past my hand, instead deciding to curl up into my lap inside. I couldn't help but laugh a little and reached down to pet her softly, earning a purr in return. She is so young to have lost so much. I have never had a daughter before, but I find myself drawn to her like no other before. Is it the world playing a trick on me? Or perhaps it's answering my subconscious call, allowing me to make this life better than my last. Would you like to be my daughter? I know you just lost your family and I can't hope to replace them, but I want to offer you the chance at having a family once more if you want one. I wasn't sure what I was getting into as I have never been a father, but I couldn't ignore the feeling that this meeting was supposed to happen. "I accept." The response was almost instant. With a little smile, I scoop her up and head back towards town with her safely in my arms while trying to think up a good name. "Then from now on you can call me Dad if you like. I will make sure to protect you going forward." With a smile, I was looking forward to the future, which seemed to be brighter than ever before. Suggestion: give her your family name along with a regular name. individual has great potential for growth. Giving her your family name will allow that growth to happen faster than it normally would otherwise. Thinking about Great Sage's suggestion, I couldn't think of a reason not to go ahead with it as I walked. I was planning to give her the name Tempest anyway, and this was just one more reason to go forward with it. I had just made it back into town when Shuna noticed me and walked up, no doubt curious about the monster that was now resting in my arms. Shuna was striking in the way that she would stick out among others with her pink hair and white kimono and red kimono skirt with a red ribbon holding them together. My new charge was clearly interested in Shuna, and with a soul as pure as hers, it was easy to see why my daughter didn't shy away. "Ah, there you are, Sir Rimuru. Who is that with you?" Shuna was clearly curious about my new charge. "This is someone I found in the forest. She was badly hurt, so I decided to heal her and take her in. I was just trying to think of a good name for her, especially seeing as I am adopting her as my daughter," I said as if it was the most normal thing in the world. "What? Daughter? Really?" Surprise was clear in Shuna's voice as she spoke up to the statement. "Aha, well yeah, she is really young, so I would feel horrible if I just left her alone and all. If you can gather the executives in my office, that is where I am headed. I can introduce her to everyone then." I tried to brush her shock off a little and chose to just tell everyone at once to get it out of the way. "Sure, I'll have everyone there shortly, so you can go on ahead," she said happily before running off. Geez, I was spoiled sometimes having so many people willing to do what I asked without question, though I suppose this was a fairly important development. My new charge was clearly curious about the town as I walked down the street, hardly being able to keep her head still while looking from one sight to another. I couldn't blame her, as nothing like this had existed in the forest before now. I finally made it to my office and set the little cat on my desk for the time being while I waited for everyone to gather, which didn't take long at all. 5 minutes after I sat down, everyone I requested was in the office as well, looking on expectantly. I had finally settled on a name just a moment before, thankfully, so I wouldn't have to make everyone wait for me to decide before introducing her. "Sorry for dragging all of you here on short notice when you are all so busy," I said even as I noticed all eyes on my new daughter. "Is it true? You have a daughter?" Sheehan was quite forceful about asking. Sigh. She never was the most patient one, I must admit. Well, time to get this out of the way anyway, and this is why I asked everyone here. "Yes, it is true. I want everyone to meet my daughter who I'm adopting." I gave a little wave towards where she lay on the desk before continuing, or at least trying to. "What is her name?" Benimaru asked curiously. "I was just about to name her, actually." "Your name shall be KatarinaTempest," I said, looking at my daughter and officially naming her for all in the room to hear. There was one unforeseen problem with me naming Katarina, and it was not one I was expecting to run into. The moment I finished naming her, I felt my magicules flowing out at an alarming rate. Notice, by giving her your family name, more magicules were used than normally would be. Everything is within my calculations. I found myself drifting once more into the recovery sleep that I was hoping to never be in again. Unable to use any of my skills while recovering, I was left to sit in my chair in the dark while my magicules slowly replenished themselves. Unknown to me at the time, Katarina underwent a drastic evolution and transformed into what one could easily mistake as a lycanthrope. Having a naked girl suddenly laying on my desk sent the other women in the room quickly herding the men out so they wouldn't see. I was unable to see anything, so it wasn't really an issue, though Katarina was still quickly covered up and taken to a nearby room where she could rest. Third-person POV Katarina was sleeping after her evolution, it seemingly having taken a lot out of her as well, and it was probably for the best anyway considering she was already worn out from traveling the forest alone. That hardship alone was enough to scar anyone's soul, having to deal with not only the loss of one's family but also having to survive alone for several days at such a young age. Several days passed since the naming of Katarina, and everyone had gone back to their normal jobs while rotating out who got to watch over Rimuru and Katarina as they recovered. 3 days after the event, Rimuru finally woke up and went about making sure everything was still running smoothly while he was recovering and apologizing to everyone for making them worry. Benimaru, of course, was scolded fiercely by Shuna for inadvertently suggesting that Rimuru named Katarina and thus causing the worry. The town was continuing to be built, and a large amount of backlog paperwork had built up during Rimuru's sleep, so he was forced to spend most of the day clearing out all the missed tasks. He only had a chance to visit Katarina briefly once he made sure she was healthy before going back to work. On the 4th day after the naming, Katarina woke up herself and was quite confused about her new form and the simple clothing covering it. She looked like a young girl who was no more than 8 or 9 and dressed in loose-fitting pajamas. While she was getting used to walking around in her lycanthrope form, Shuna walked into the room intending to check in on her and seemed overjoyed that she was up and active once more. Katarina's Pav, I have been walking around this room for a few minutes now getting used to my new form and testing out some of the things I could do in it, like walking upright and picking items up. I also had to admire the furniture, as the bed was really comfortable and the chairs and table were well made. I could tell that the wood was directly from this deep part of the forest and that no doubt made it exceptionally good. I wasn't really sure what the clothing was for, but it didn't restrict me at all, so I left it in place for the time being. Hearing the door open behind me, I spun around quickly to see who was entering and nearly lost my balance while doing so, only managing to catch myself on a chair at the last second to avoid falling. "Oh, good, you are awake. Sir Rimuru will be happy to hear that you have recovered," Shuna said energetically. "Who are you?" I asked while looking at her soul and seeing that it was full of kindness. I had seen her before when Dad brought me here, but I didn't get to actually meet any of them officially. "My apologies, let me introduce myself. I am Shuna, and it's nice to meet you, Katarina," Shuna said with a smile on her face that would make anyone relax. "It's nice to meet you, Shuna," I said, and completely meant it. I felt something fundamental settle into place as I heard my name used for the first time, and it just felt right. I found myself sitting down on the bed I was resting on only moments ago, not really sure what I should do now, having no real social experience to lean on to carry a conversation with. Sigh, where is Dad? I just want to talk to someone I know, and not someone I just met. Master is headed to your location. Who's there? I couldn't help but to look around after hearing a voice that didn't belong to Shuna. I am the skill of Rimuru Tempest, great sage. Just think and I will hear you, and also, do not tell anyone about me. I am the only person here, Shuna said, a little confused. Sorry, there was a voice in my head. It was Dad using telepathy to say he was headed this way and that I should wait here for him, I told Shuna, trying to explain away my question. Your soul is linked to Master's, and yes, Master is nearly to your location. I wasn't really sure why Dad was being called Master, but maybe it was just a quirk of his skill? Even as I was thinking about this, I was excited to see Dad again and be able to have him lead the conversation a little for me, at least until I learned how to carry a conversation myself. Sadly, evolution didn't solve every problem that came up, at least not how much someone has learned or hasn't learned how to do. While I was thinking about this, the door to the room opened once more and Dad walked inside. I really couldn't help myself as I flung myself into his arms the moment he was fully inside of the room, and while he looked conflicted at first, a smile appeared a moment later. Why, good morning, Katarina. How do you feel? Dad asked. I feel great. I am still getting used to everything though. I said this while still hugging onto him tightly, afraid that he might disappear like a dream does once you wake up. That is good to hear. I see you are speaking a lot more fluently, and out loud as well, which will make communicating with others easier. Dad said this as he lifted me up and sat me down in a chair. I wasn't really sure what I was supposed to do once more, so I started to idly kick my feet back and forth as they hung off the edge of the chair while waiting for one of the adults to speak up once more. I was perfectly content just to relax in the presence of Dad all day after all, so I had no complaints about the current situation. Katarina, I would like to introduce you to everyone in town so that they know who you are, if you are okay with that. You are my daughter now after all, so you have become someone of importance, Dad said with all seriousness. I guess that would be okay. I wasn't really sure about meeting so many people all of a sudden, but I couldn't bring myself to deny the request either. My stomach had a different idea, however, as it chose this time to growl loudly. I blushed deeply in embarrassment at the sound and put a hand to my stomach to try and calm it down. Aha, I guess you would be hungry after sleeping for 4 days. It will take some time to gather everyone, so why don't we get something to eat while the announcement goes out? The sudden mention of food had me out of my seat quickly, and nodding rapidly as well, more than ready to agree to the suggestion. I was extremely hungry and more than ready to eat something. My reaction brought a smile to Dad's face as he stood up as well and started to lead the way out of the room. I will get some of the clothing we made for her to get dressed in after eating, Shuna said before walking off in a different direction. Rimuru's pav. When I entered the room that Katarina was staying in, several things became instantly obvious to me. The first was how big Katarina had grown, which wasn't obvious to me when she was resting in the bed with the covers over her. The second thing I noticed was her striking appearance. The young girl that flung herself at me looked to be around 8 or 9 years old. She still had her heterochromatic eyes, and her waist-length hair was clearly matching her eyes in color. With jet black hair and natural royal purple highlights towards the ends, along with a matching appearance on her tail swinging back and forth behind her, it would be impossible to miss her in a crowd. I could already tell that she would become quite beautiful as she grew up, but quickly pushed that thought out of my head. I decided to deal with that when she had men lining up wanting to date her, and not before. After a short talk with her, it became clear she was not the best at carrying a conversation, but I was sure that would change as she got a chance to interact with more people around the town. I also realized it was likely she would be glued to me for the foreseeable future, at least until she got comfortable enough to wander off on her own. The time alone, I could tell, had scarred her, and it would take a while to get over the trauma that it induced, even if she would never be alone while in the town. We were currently walking to the meeting room that had a table we could eat off of for the time being, as I didn't want her wandering outside in pajamas. Thankfully, Shuna was already grabbing some of the new clothing she had made for Katarina so that I could show her around outside later. I was sure she would enjoy the little bit of freedom, even if the only thing I had to judge that from was the reaction from when we entered the city. We can eat here in this room for the time being. It's not really what it was designed for, but considering the clothing you are wearing isn't really suited for walking outside, it will work for now. I say this while pulling out a chair for her to settle into, and quickly notice a problem with the design when it comes to those with tails. The chair is a little uncomfortable, but if I sit forward on it, I don't think it will be too bad. A gap that my tail could slide through would do wonders for the comfort of it, Katarina pointed out as she settled into place, saying what I had already noticed. A goblina walked into the room with food in hand right after we got seated. No doubt Shuna had talked to her on the way out so that we wouldn't be waiting for food or trying to get it ourselves. While I could have made the food myself, it was nice to have it ready, as I was sure Katarina didn't want to wait around any longer to fill her belly. Eat as much as you like, there is no reason to hold back, so eat until you are full, I said with a smile even as I pull a plate towards myself, thinking it would be good to give an example on how to eat in a more humanoid form without making a mess. This is really good, she said even as the food that was in front of her quickly disappeared with each passing second. Hey, slow down a little or you will choke on it. There is no need to rush, I said, clearly exasperated, but also couldn't help but laugh at the situation a little. We ate in silence for a little while until Katarina was satisfied, and once she was done eating for the time being, I thought it would be a perfect chance to ask a few questions about her skill. So, can you tell me about your unique skill that you have? I believe that you can see someone's soul with it, right? I asked carefully, knowing that explaining skills wasn't something people did easily. Sure, since it is you asking, Dad, she said cheerfully before thinking for a minute, clearly trying to put her thoughts into words. She broke it down into a couple of easy-to-understand parts for me. The first part is she can see people's souls, though feral monsters don't have them, so she can't see them. The second part is she can see what the person is like based on their soul, and this comes in two different ways. The first is the general inclination of the soul, or what a person at their core is really like. The second is what the person is like at the given moment, although how clearly she can see what someone's soul is expressing depends on how strong the soul is. With a soul that is weak, it's easy to read, but if someone has a soul that is much stronger than hers, the details start to become less clear. While it's theoretically possible to block her sight of your soul completely, you would need a skill to block it or a soul that was many times stronger than her. So, what type of soul do I have? I was mostly curious and wanted to see just what she could see about me that others might not be able to. Well, the general inclination of your soul is peaceful, helpful, and protective. This is why I chose to trust you in the first place, because you have a kind soul. What it is saying about you right now is that you are curious, but a little cautious. I can only assume the cautious part is because you don't know what I can do with my skill? She was surprisingly honest, explaining everything in detail. I see, so you can get general impressions of someone's mood and inclination but can't see exactly what they are thinking or planning to do. That is good to know. I give a little nod, happy with the explanation, and at this point Shuna walked into the room with several outfits in hand. Sir Rimuru, if you don't mind, can you leave the room for a little bit while I get Katarina dressed? Shuna said in a way that left no room for arguing. I wasn't interested in seeing the dress-up session anyway, being more than happy to escape before I got dragged into it as well. Standing up, I make my way towards the door and step outside, but before closing the door, I look back and reassure Katarina that she was in good hands. Don't worry, Katarina, Shuna will take good care of you. Once you are properly dressed to go outside, we can head out and get the announcement out of the way. Afterwards, we can explore the town if you like as well. With a final little wave, I close the door behind me and find somewhere else close by to be, just in case I was needed. Half an hour later, both Katarina and Shuna walk out of the room, Katarina dressed in something close to my own outfit with pants and a close-fitting shirt along with some basic shoes. While walking up to them, Benimaru contacted me letting me know that everyone is gathered and waiting for us, which was perfect timing seeing that we were all ready to head over there now. Perfect timing. It seems that everyone is ready for the announcement, so why don't we head that way? I asked cheerfully, even as I noticed Katarina was anything but cheerful about the idea. She walked over and grabbed onto my arm as if afraid to be separated from me, and I couldn't stop a chuckle at this. I gave her a quick pat on the head to reassure her, and much to my surprise got a soft purr in response. With this, we headed off to where everyone was gathered.